Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to another incredible episode of High and Empowered. So, hi. And today it's me, Oren, the Oregonji. I am here to empower you. I am here to bring the good word of cannabis, to remind people how amazing cannabis really is. So, today, quite, interestingly, we're talking about cannabis. But today, we're not just talking about cannabis. Today, we're talking about male infertility. Today, we're talking about the process of cannabis. We're talking about the pros and cons. We're going to talk about tolerance breaks. We're also going to talk about um, the pros and cons of tolerance breaks. We're going to talk about recent developments that are happening with the DEA. Again, last episode, we spoke very heavily about the rescheduling that's happening. I have news and things that I have heard that maybe rescheduling will not be happening. The head of the all right, I'll get into it in a moment. But these are some of the things we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, understanding it, understanding the causes and the triggers of hypermesis syndrome, differentiating that from nerves and stress and other issues that you may be experiencing, and that cannabis can enhance the way you're feeling about things, so that can also enhance those thoughts that you are having cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome when in fact you may not be. But we're going to be talking about prevention and awareness of that. Also, tolerance breaks. We're talking about the big one today. We're talking about male infertility. And I know when you think cannabis, you're thinking male infertility. What are you talking about? Cannabis makes you impotent. Cannabis makes you infertile. No, actually, quite the opposite. And we're going to discuss that today. We're going to discuss scientific findings and new research that has been going into individualized cannabinoid treatment to improve fertility and to boost testosterone. So for cannabis to be involved in fertility and boosting of testosterone is amazing, because keep in mind, most of the rhetoric that has been out there for so many years has been against cannabis and has been putting the bad light on cannabis, that you're not going to get anybody pregnant, you're not going to be able to get it up, you won't have any interest, you won't have desire. Quite the opposite. With cannabis, you have enhanced desire. But again, it depends on what you're using. It depends how much you're using. It depends in which way you are using. So we're going to talk about those things today. Very exciting. So again, welcome to High and Empowered. I'm your host, Oren, the Oregonji. And I come to you live right now from my trailer in progress here in Florida. And it's hot. I'm just going to mention, if you're in Florida, you know how hot this is. It's not even summer, and we're already dealing with 90+ degree weather. That's why weed doesn't grow well here in Florida, because of the weather. It's the humidity, it's the bacteria, it's the heat. So that's where we're at. So right now I come to you from a very hot trailer here in Florida. I've got the air blowing. We've got some really nice things that we're going to be trying out today. What are we smoking? So let's start with that. Before we delve into infertility and impotence and tolerance breaks and hypermesis syndrome and the current state of cannabis, let's quickly talk about what I'm smoking today. So I'm going to be smoking from the Puffco Proxy today. And by the way, just a quick reminder, I am not supported by Puffco or any of the dispensaries right now. I'm not currently directly working for anybody. I am an independent in the Florida market. I do travel out of the Florida market to other markets to promote brands and to bring education into recreational environments. I believe we all need education. We all need to touch up on what we know about cannabis. We need to unlearn certain things and relearn some of the new research, some of the new ideas, some of the new findings that are able to change our lives by implementing eating of live cannabis, eating of raw cannabis, juicing raw cannabis, making tea. When we start learning about CBGA, the mother of all cannabinoids, in her acidic form, wow, That's the beginning. That's where we're going to start. That's where it's going to happen. So anyways, by the way, if you have any questions today, ask. If I see those questions come up, I'm going to do my best to answer what I can. But as I was showing, we're going to start. Today, I'm smoking from the Puffco Proxy, which is my little Sherlock Holmes type pipe. It's open right now. And we're going to be smoking Crumble. Crumble is probably my favorite. If I'm going to smoke any concentrate, and I don't do what they call dabs, really. I don't do it in a big high heat rig. On my Puffco Proxy, I do it at really low temperature. So I set it at the lowest of temperatures to make sure that I'm not overburning my products. I'm not overusing my product like that. So today I'm going to be smoking some Crumble. I don't know if you can see that. Crumble, it's not a wax. It's not a sugar. In its extraction process, it's very clean, and it looks like, if it's done properly, it looks like honeycomb. So this one right here is, let me see. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's the Holy Grail. I forgot I picked that up just the other day. So I got the Holy Grail, and I got this from Sanctuary Wellness here in Florida. One of the MSO, multi-state, well, actually, I don't think they're a multi-state operator. They're just here in Florida. Or no, wait, I think they're multi-state. So Sanctuary, check them out. Really beautiful Crumble. Gorgeous color. Look at that. If you could see the color of that, that's a really nice color. That looks clean. And I'm just to let you know, I did smoke some of that earlier, just to test it out. I had to make sure it was okay. And it was delicious, smooth. And we're going to do it right now, actually. I'm going to load the bowl. We're going to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about today. And I'm just going to show you how much I'm putting into the bowl, by the way. I got this little dabby tool, and it's not a lot. If you look at it in size comparison, I'm just putting it close to the screen. So that's the Crumble. And that I'm just going to drop into this bowl. There we go. Boom, boom. It's a little warm out here, so it's not dropping. When it's warm, I keep it in the freezer. One, because I don't want to lose any of the THC value. When you keep something cold, keep it in the freezer, the THC value is not going to degrade as quickly. When it starts to degrade, THC will then turn into what's called CBN. Charlo Bravo. I can't today. Charlo Bravo Nancy, whatever. CBN. CBN's incredible. That's aged, oxidized, degraded THC. And we'll talk about some of the individual cannabinoids today as well. But right now, really the most important thing is loading this bowl. So that was it. I used this little toolie tool that sits on a keychain. Okay, I loaded the Holy Grail, which is the Crumble from Sanctuary. Really nice, I gotta say. And it was super cost effective. Again, they're not paying me. Nobody is. So right now, the opinions that I give you are, they're, always my crew. Let me just make sure I don't have any thing coming in. We're gonna look. Let's just see if, dun, 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 dun. Okay, no questions. Not a problem. Let me go back this way. So with the Puffco Proxy, I just want to mention the reason I love it. I just loaded it. I'm going to close it. There's a button on the side right here. Oh, no, wrong side. There's a button on this side right there. And I just press it twice. Boom, boom. And as you'll see, it's turned on. So it buzzed in my hands. When it buzzes again, then it's going to be ready. Okay, beautiful. So now let's talk about the subject hand. The subject at matter, or matter at subject, or whatever. I can't. My words are not working today. So here's where I wanted to begin. Male infertility. There was a study that came out recently, very recently, and this is where I'm basing this off of. It's a worldwide study. By the way, I'm very gently hitting it. This is the Holy Grail from Sanctuary, and very gently. It buzzed, that's why I'm hitting it. I don't hit it too hard, because if you do, then it's going to pull everything out of the bottom part. Oh, what did I do? I think I pressed the button again. Right here, you'll see it pulls it out. See, very easy, very simple. It just pops right into this. It's actually quite lovely. Okay, so we're talking about male infertility. And I'm going to tie it in and let you know where cannabis ties in. So the global decline in male fertility and how the endocannabinoid system, particularly through cannabis and individualized cannabinoids, could offer a solution. So first, let's address the elephant in the room. And that's the alarming decline in male fertility worldwide. So in this study, they've shown a significant decrease in sperm count and quality over the past few decades. Now, in the past 20 years specifically, our male fertility has dropped by almost 30 to 45%. That's huge. In 20 years, we've lost that much when it comes to male fertility. So, of course, I'm going to get, of course, I'm nervous. Now, there are various environmental and lifestyle factors that are implicated in this. For example, let's talk about one major contributor to the decline is the endocrine disruption. Now, this is huge. This is where the paper was. So the paper associated the decline of male fertility with endocrine disruption. So what is that? The endocrine disruption is where synthetic chemicals interfere with the body's hormone system. These disruptors are found in everyday products, from plastics to pesticides. They've been linked to reproductive health issues. So, by the way, sorry, I'm so hot. I'm sweating incredibly in this summer, not even summer, Florida, not even Florida summer yet. So anyways, all of this has been linked to reproductive health issues, where I start telling you that this is a huge problem as a whole, males worldwide. And that's why it's taken so long for this study to get out. Males worldwide, fertility and testosterone and the quality of sperm and sperm count has dropped dramatically. So now enter the endocannabinoid system, the ECS. The ECS is a complex network of receptors and neurotransmitters found throughout the body. See, while primarily known for its role in regulating mood, appetite, and pain, the ECS also plays a crucial part in reproductive function. I'm telling you, when you start learning about the endocannabinoid system and how it works within our body, you start realizing how much it's really responsible for. So again, it softens and helps with endocrine disruption. We're going to talk about this in just a moment. So let's talk about cannabis. Traditionally associated with recreational use. Obviously, I like to use it, but I also use it medicinally. Cannabis contains compounds called cannabinoids, how I keep talking about those. THC and CBD being the most well-known, most prevalent. But studies have shown that cannabis can influence testosterone levels in men with the potential to boost male fertility. Now, testosterone and fertility are two different things. But if we're talking about boosting testosterone and boosting male fertility through individualized cannabinoids. So research in this area is still at early stages. But from what I've picked up, and I will put in the chat later, links to the studies, which I should have done it ahead of time because I should have been prepared. But initial findings are promising. Initial findings are amazing. Studies have suggested that certain cannabinoids, when administered in precise doses, can enhance sperm motility, increase testosterone levels, and improve overall reproductive health in men. This is enormous. This is something we should be talking about on a large scale. Now, I know maybe it's a little taboo. Maybe it's a little, oh, we're not going to talk about fertility. If we don't talk about fertility and we don't talk about reproduction, well, we're going to disappear. We are going to go extinct. We will be no more. When you stop nurturing your ECS, your endocannabinoid system, you start losing cannabinoids that are naturally produced within the body, that you naturally received from your mother's milk, from your mother and cross whatever. There's words I don't have right now. So we start losing cannabinoids the older we get. We lose them because they're no longer in our food source. Hemp was fed to cows and pigs many moons ago, 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and it was in our food source. We were consuming it. It was being fed, digested, and let me just make sure I'm not missing any Anything coming in? Dun, 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 no, nothing. Fantastic. Okay, so we were getting those cannabinoids with it as a food source. We were getting the early CBGAs. We were decarboxylating through the acids in our stomach, through our liver, through process. The food we were eating was hemp infused or hemp fed. So there's things that we're missing in our natural diet and natural food source now that that is not fed to our livestock anymore. I know it's one thing, but there are many things. So when I talk about administering precise doses of certain cannabinoids, I talk about the immense potential for further exploration and innovation in the field of male infertility, and boosting testosterone using cannabis, using cannabinoids, individualized cannabinoids. Maybe if they're like, well, you need to smoke more sativas. We find that sativas high in THCV, for example. So THCV is a vasodilator. It opens up the blood vessels. Well, this can help with male infertility, maybe impotency, and other factors. THCV, grown in certain sativas, things like Durban Poison or Colombian Gold. You'll find things like THCV, but not large amounts. So again, maybe in the extraction of THCV, maybe in the raw cannabis eating. So our body does live decarboxylations, and that maybe like by drinking tea, you're doing a partial decarboxylation, and then your body kind of does the rest. There's so much to unlearn and relearn when it comes to cannabis. And that's why today I said we're just talking cannabis. We're talking all the different things of cannabis. But I felt the most pressing was male infertility, the decline of male fertility and impotency and other factors. So things like maybe smoking a sativa increases as a vasodilator and helps people out. Just throwing it out there. All right. But, that's one of the things. So I thought that was a really big deal. So we need to develop personalized treatment plans, because from identifying the most effective cannabinoid combinations to developing personalized treatment plans, the possibilities are huge. And I say this because the decline in male fertility is a multifaceted issue that demands our attention and action. By leveraging the power of the endocannabinoid system and exploring the benefits of cannabis as an individualized cannabinoids, we have the opportunity to revolutionize male reproductive health. Remember, the cannabinoids are as different as the individual. So when you start separating out the individual, you start seeing how different we all are. And in our difference shows the difference in how we need to be treated with cannabis. Not everything works for everybody, but we can tailor them to be able to work better through THC, through CBD or CBC or CBG or CBN or THCV or CBGA. There's so much. We just need to unlearn what we know and start relearning what's actually out there. Anyways, I'm also smoking something else today, some flower. And today's flower is Point Break. It's a sativa. I got the small bud also from Sanctuary. I happened to pick up some crumble and some flower, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It smells delicious. I mean, wow, lemony and pepper. I smell more lemon. It's like lemon, a strong kick of lemon more than anything else. And the buds actually they're tiny buds. But let me see if I can get that to the screen. Look at that. There we go. It's an itsy bitsy bud, but it's not terrible. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, it looks like it was rolled in a machine. It's got little purples on it. I like little purples in my bud. Its red hairs have turned rather orange, and that's fine. They're now orangey, beautiful, orangey yellow hairs with beautiful purple bud. So anyways, let's smoke that for a second. This is High and Empowered. Welcome to the show. Smoke along with us if you can. If you can't, smoke later. I don't get to smoke this much, this often. I do it during the show. I do it for you. Do you see what I'm doing for you? I do this. I get high for you. If it wasn't you, I'd still probably get high. But, I do it more for you, for the viewers. I believe in you. That's why I'm getting high. But no, actually, I'm smoking this. Oh, it's peppery. On the back end, it's a little more. I think I'm tasting this stuff over here, and I'm smoking the other. But this is actually not bad. That's a good little smoke. It gave me a good quick entourage, like a good quick head high. But the head high is really just it crossing the blood-brain barrier. Because I'm smoking with a lighter, that's butane contamination. That's high heat. So when I'm smoking it, you see it there, it's really burning very, very hot. And I'm burning off all the beneficial cannabinoids. So understand, when I'm smoking it from a bowl, I'm really not getting the benefit of all the other cannabinoids. I'm not getting the CBN or the CBGA because it's already burned off at the lower temperatures. I believe around 280 to 300 degrees, cannabis really starts to break down and decarboxylate. So in that, you want to do it at lower heat. So a lot of that change can happen within the body. When I talk about CBGA or her acidic form, or just CBG, that starts attaching to your neurotransmitters. So people that are dealing with neural issues, this CBG is incredible. Also, when if you can get a hold of anything like that, your stomach, raw cannabis is a big deal. If you chew raw cannabis, eat it, emaciate it, turn it into a pulp, into a juice, then swallow it. It starts getting into your stomach. It's going to coat your stomach. This is going to help people with digestive issues that can't eat certain things. You need to coat your stomach. You need to start treating your stomach. It almost changes the way your stomach is going to start processing things, because you're dealing with one problem so that it can start healing others. And that's what the ECS does. Your endocannabinoid system is handling many different processes all over the body, here and here. If you have a problem in your body, it's going to start concentrating on that problem, and it's going to start ignoring everything else. So you need to bring it back to harmony. You need to bring it back to its plane of existence, I suppose. So where it needs to be. Anyways, okay, moving on. Moving on to the rest of our topics. So right now, what are we talking about? We talked about male infertility. Again, it's a big deal. Cannabis can play a huge role, and definitely individualized cannabinoid therapy, that's huge. Okay, now, so now we're talking about, now I just want to kind of touch on the new global approach. Actually, before I do, because I can ramble on forever, and I want this information out there. So really quickly, I got to find it. I don't know where I put it. Okay, here it is. Recently, we've heard about Schedule 3, the change from Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, and everybody's getting really excited. But I've said, look, don't hold your breath. Don't sit there and say, oh my God, it's going to happen overnight. Any rescheduling is going to happen a long time, because there's a lot that they have to get ready and on the table. So with all this talk of rescheduling, and with all this talk of this happening, let me just find let me see, the sources inside the Drug Enforcement Administration are being told that Ann Milgram, the agency's administrator, did not sign off on the landmark decision. Did you hear that right? So, and they can say, I can now say with full confidence that the administrator of the DEA, Ann Milgram, did not sign the rescheduling order. Kevin Sabat, president of an advocacy group, Smart Approaches to, anyway, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, does that mean it's not going to be rescheduled to a Schedule 3? And all of this is propaganda talk? All of this is pomp and circumstance for the administration, or for whomever this would benefit? So stocks went up temporarily. They shot up for a lot of the companies, where these companies have been having huge stock issues. And in that, Was that who it benefited? The quick talk of rescheduling from 1 to 3. Now, again, I want to mention when we reschedule to Schedule 3, it's not what you think it is. There's no home grow. It does not legalize the product, and it does not give any new oomph to recreational. It does give validity to the medical market. That means now when we make medical claims and there are medical papers about marijuana, the DEA has just given us, at that point, medical validity to those medical claims, which is amazing. That's huge. So, but that hasn't happened. Nothing has happened yet. And as you just heard me say, the administrator, the head agency, she's in charge, Ann Milgram, has said, I have not signed off on this and I don't know about this going on. That's crazy sauce. That's okay. So again, that's people pumping you up in the media, or one person mentioning something and the media running with it, or a political party running with it. It is so hot. It is like steamy. It is steamy hot in here. This is my sauna. So I do a podcast, as you guys can tell, every Wednesday live. It comes here to you on Facebook, or not Facebook, LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, but nobody's watching it there, so whatever. And Twitch and something with a D. And there's a few, and there's so many. And thank you everybody for watching, by the way. I really do appreciate it. So anyways, this is my sauna time. When I podcast, I'm also doing a sauna, and I'm getting most of my smoke time in. It feels that way. It's just so hot. Oh, look, all my ice melted. Oh, wow. Awesome. Awesome. And see, yeah, you can find it on YouTube under Dualistic Unity. Oh, you know, I don't mention this enough, and I really should. And I was in Denver, so my brain was kind of everywhere. But Dualistic Unity, these guys just had an amazing retreat, and so come back from the retreat refreshed, rejuvenated. And at the retreat, they were doing very lovely tea, infused, I believe, and constant walks of reestablishing one's soul and oneself with nature. So I think that's awesome. I think that's so cool. Definitely, and I'm going to put up a link in just a moment. Check out the retreats. Check out Dualistic Unity. See what they're doing. See what they're all about. You have a lot of questions in life. Look, you come to me if you have questions about cannabis. You come to me if you want a little extra empowerment, a little extra enthusiasm for life. But you go to them when you have some questions. Why? It's two guys, yin and yang, Dualistic Unity. You know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that are coming together naturally, talking about life, talking about things that are happening to them in the now, and talking about being in the now, talking about so many. Look, it's life. It is. They're just talking, and they are teaching, and they are learning, and they are becoming, and they're part of the community. So they're incredible. It's Andrew and Ray, Dualistic Unity. Also, there's also a lot of little sideshows like myself. I'm here talking to you guys, and let me just checking over here in case there's anything extra going on. Groovy. Okay, so what was I talking about? It doesn't even matter. Okay, I was talking about the rescheduling thing. So again, that was huge news. That may not be such huge news. So in retrospect, people, I'm just saying, you know, don't hold your breath. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's continue. Now, I do want to mention something interesting. We were talking about infertility and the growing number or the percentile of infertility in the not just the United States, the whole world, that we are declining by 1% a year, I believe. That should be like catastrophic numbers. So testosterone is another big deal. The older we get, we start to lose our natural testosterone. I lost mine, my entire testosterone, like the whole thing, more than 20 years ago. And since then, I've had, but now again, testosterone and infertility or fertility are two different things, but they're not, because one kind of ties in with the other. Because if you don't have one, you don't have the other. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I don't mean to be crude or rude, but if you don't have a high testosterone or things working within a testosteronic level, well, it's going to be very difficult to reproduce. Just throwing it out there, unless of course you do it through a doctor and through whatever and blah 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 blah. And okay, so does it actually have positive or negative effects on fertility? Remember, the whole thing has been propaganda against cannabis. So I can tell you, me turning 50 this year, I'm not going to say when, but I turned 50 at the end of the year. I guess I kind of said when, didn't I? Whatever. So I turned 50 this year. I don't feel it. I don't feel as though I look it. I don't act it, in the sense that the energy that I possess is immense. So when I start talking about cannabis as an aid, so earlier in the show I mentioned maybe you smoke a sativa and it's a vasodilator and it keeps things strong all throughout the body. I love sativas, and sativas changed my life. Sativas have kept me energetic and virile. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe the cannabinoids processed through the edibles, through the raw cannabis, through the juicing, through me making tea, have resonated in a certain way that it has kept my fertility, or it has kept my sexual health and male health and fertility health at its best. So I may not have any testosterone in my body, but I have everything else. And I guess it doesn't matter because I have cannabis. Cannabis makes up for the testosterone that I might be missing. I don't know, whatever. We're just throwing shit out there. That's what I'm really good at right now, just throwing shit out there. But that's what we were talking about earlier. We got a few other things on the agenda. I mean, I was talking about, I wanted to talk about the worldview and how the world looks at cannabis. But really, it's the personalized approach to cannabis use that we need to not only change, but emphasize the importance of consumption, individual needs, tailoring cannabinoids to individual people. So not just for male infertility, for female infertility, maybe for female fertility health. And so it's not just men. I mean, understanding the cannabinoids and the terpenes, it's something I talk about here, but on a larger scale, I want it spoken about. On a larger scale, I want that as a talk as we get closer to the possibility of rescheduling. Because we get to rescheduling, it's going to give more validity to cannabis. We really need to understand it before we get there. When I say terpenes like limonene or citroene or myrcene, understand where the pepperies come from and what they associate with in our, because all of our foods have terpenes. All of the things you smell are flavonoids and terpenoids. And then cannabis just has its own unique set of terpenes as well. So educating not just you, but educating everybody in a diverse range of cannabinoids, terpenes, and their potential effects on your mood, your energy levels, your productivity. I take me as a research study. I've been using cannabis my whole life. Now I'm about to segue this into tolerance breaks. That's something important. Why? There's two reasons. We'll get there in a moment. So, there's different combinations of cannabinoids and terpenes that we need to talk about, and we need to be able to showcase by and this helps with enhancing our productivity. We need to discuss how cannabis strains and products can boost motivation, creativity, cognitive function, and these are huge. We need to address the concerns with managing the side effects and the understanding of cannabis, especially for our older crowd, our older cannabis users, people who are coming into the medical side of it, who need it for pain, for mood, for vitality. And they don't really want to deal with all of the side effects that cannabis brings, and it doesn't. I mean, the longer you smoke it, the less side effects you feel. Do I feel high right now? No, I'm not floating in the clouds. I'm burning up in here. I'm sweating. I'm dying in this trailer right now. The air is doing nothing. It's melted the ice and made my drink hot. So no, I'm not high, but I'm lifted. I look at life with a comical antidote almost in my vision of it. I try not to take anything seriously anymore. And cannabis has helped me with that. I am pain tolerant right now. That means I'm dealing with fibromyalgia. I'm dealing with neuropathy. I'm dealing with arthritis. I deal with migraines. But because of cannabis, I really don't anymore. And I have a host of not mental disabilities, but mental disabilities, maybe ADD, attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity disorder, bipolar. But all of these things that you are listed with, you're just listed with for medication. None of these things affect me. I'm able to use certain ones as superpowers, and I'll explain. Like my hyperactivity disorder. If I hone in my skills with a good sativa, I can work like nobody can work. I can clean like nobody can clean. Utilize what you think brings you down, make it a power, not a disability. So cannabis, because of cannabis, and because of my regimen and my understanding of specified cannabinoids to the specified individual and terpene profiles, I don't feel as though I'm very ADD. I mean, bunny, where, but not as bad. My hyperactivity is under control for the most part. Through cannabis, my weight is reduced and controlled. My appetite is suppressed and only hungry for when I need to actually eat, for when I need sustenance. And I'm only hungry for specific things. Like I have to cook, I have to make it, I have to create something that my body actually needs and wants. Cannabis has helped me do that. Instead of just eating and eating and eating at a buffet, looking for that taste, looking for that flavor, looking for that satisfaction, it wasn't there. I had to find control of my stomach and control of my body so that I can enjoy food again. Because of cannabis, I quit smoking cigarettes. I quit nicotine. Nicotine is a harsher drug than heroin. No, maybe it's not. I don't know. Look, people say that. I don't know. I think heroin's pretty bad. I'm just gonna give heroin its due, whatever. I think it's worse, but nicotine's terrible. And to quit nicotine mentally and physically, it took me like 2 years, 3 years. I still want a cigarette. I wake up some mornings and I'm like, coffee and a cigarette would be amazing. I just now, after years of not having a cigarette, I've just now started getting the taste back in my mouth. Just started. And then COVID hit me. And now it's hard to taste or smell anything. Damn it. Should have kept smoking. No, don't smoke. Smoking's terrible. Okay, so, but I do smoke cannabis. Now, there was a study that came out, and I'm relying heavily on that study, but they said there's no long-term effects from smoking cannabis. As opposed to smoking cigarettes, there's huge long-term effects. But with cannabis, there isn't? Okay. So I'm going to smoke more. No, I'm not. And actually, I think in the last episode, we were talking about how I'm reducing the amount I smoke and moving more towards infused butters and edibles and drinking tea and eating it raw again. Because the older I get, I really can't smoke that much. So I have to find other ways of consumption that my body can process, and I can still microdose and do the regimens I require as my medication. So it's combating this. Now, we were talking on a worldwide level, precision dosing, combating the stigma. That's done through education. That's done through podcasts like this. See, on the High and Empowered podcast, we smoke. I smoke. You're welcome to smoke, but I smoke. And my guests are welcome to smoke. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I find this is our smoke session. This is our on the couch. Let's talk about cannabis. This right here is all of ours let's just chit chat. Let's take an hour out of our freaking Wednesday, smoke a joint, smoke a bowl. Let's talk about the benefits and healing powers of cannabis. Let's talk about its future in the world in front of us. Let's talk about male infertility. Let's just talk about stupid shit that we get together and talk about. That's what this is. This, I need this as much as you might need this, because we have lost this because of COVID. COVID killed the powwows. I mean, they still happen. Like when I go to an event, we'll all get together, we'll all powwow, we'll all smoke. Maybe I'll go to a bar and people are like, oh, hey, let's go smoke. I'm like, hey, let's go smoke. But it's not what it used to be. I used to go to somebody's house. They'd already have like 20 people on the floor and on the couch, and they're eating food, they're ordering things in. And I'm like, oh, this is where I need to be, and we'd smoke and we'd talk and we'd be community. So I associate, because of that, beginnings of it, in my eyes, we'd educate, we'd talk, we'd smoke, we'd be family, we'd be friends. Through the leaf. The leaf, we were all the same. Under the leaf, there is no racism. There was no prejudice. We all smoke weed. So we all talk. We all have that in common. That was a barrier that broke everything. And so that was our combating the stigma, because there was no stigma for us. There was just the law keeping it away from us. And so I look at cannabis as community, because that's the community that progresses the product, the brands, the education, and the furtherance and future of this plant. So that's why I talk about how it can medically help us. If I can convince the powers that be, the ones who make the decisions for us, the people who don't see it as a benefit, when they start to see it as a benefit, the world starts to change. When they smoke the plant or use the plant for their arthritis as a topical, like maybe they watch the show, maybe they hear from somebody, they're on the golf course. Did you know you can use a good CBD, CBGA, or CBN combination? Which I wanted to show the gummies. I didn't bring them with. They're made by WANA, WANA. They're CBN, THC, CBD. Wow, amazing. Nothing has knocked me out like these things. And they're vegan, they're sweetened naturally, and there's over 30 terpenes, cannabis terpenes, that have been added into the product. Now, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. It's helped me so much. I chewed it and maced. Anyways, I'm not trying to shoot out brands, so I don't get paid or helped by anybody. But Wana was actually one of the brands that was with Starbuds in Colorado, and that was Schwaz. They own Starbuds, Standing Akimbo, which is their medical distribution, and they also have Emerald Fields. So Emerald Field, and that's in Denver and New Mexico. That's a great company. These people are on fire. I mean, when I say that, they are trying to really re-educate and excite the industry through their bud tenders, through their company, through their love and passion for the community and for the plant. So I got to spend some time out there. That was really exciting. Now I'm back in the heat. There it was snowing. When I was there, it snowed. It's so hot, I can't stop sweating here. So anyways, we're back. We used to get together as community. I miss that. I love that. So again, that's what this is. We get together every Wednesday. We smoke. If you don't smoke, you don't smoke. I'm sorry, whatever. There you go. Maybe you do an edible. Maybe you're still learning about cannabis. Maybe whatever it is that you do, doodly doodly do. Because I'm a very big supporter in psilocybin. Ooh. And that's big. That's big. It's getting bigger, and it's following, I really feel, on the back of cannabis. Cannabis has made all these strides and all this headway in the push for legalization and the push for reschedule and the push for decriminalization. Mushrooms have kind of, or psilocybin and mushrooms have kind of creeped right in, and they've been like, hey, we're here. We can do amazing things, and they can. But that's going to also require incredible, I do things. That's going to still require an incredible amount of education through community. When I first learned about cannabis or mushrooms, psilocybin, and DMT and other things, I learned through a community, and they brought me into it, and I saw wonderful things with no fear, with no judgment. And that's the thing. No fear, no judgment. What you bring into it, you will also experience. So if you can drop, and that's cannabis as well. If you're having a bad cannabis reaction, like you're overly stressed out, or your brain's all over the place, or you're angry, or you're mad. I mean, cannabis will help a little bit, but you're bringing some of that shit into your ride, into your flow, into your temporal happy place. I may not be high, but I am. Oh, I'm lifted, baby. My pain is gone. My mood is high. My accent changes. That's when things get serious. You're right. I saw that one. Somebody was like, when his accent changes, that's when shit gets serious. And it does. That's cannabis. So you heard rescheduling might not happen. Cannabis can help with fertility. I'm just, that's a lot of holistic approach to wellness for me. And, I think cannabis really needs to be looked at as the medicinal agent that it is. Now, I say that we look at it recreationally. We treat it recreationally. I treat it recreationally, even though I do use it medicinally. I make a tea. That's not recreationally. I mean, I only feel like a little bit of a body high. And when I make a tea, what I mean is I take the raw cannabis, I take the bud, I break it up. I break up about enough for like, oh, 1 second, let me repack a bowl. Oh shit, there's still a lot left. No, there was too much left. I blew it out of the pipe. Okay. So I break up enough for like 2 joints. And I get a loose leaf tea blend that's got hibiscus and elderberry, rose, tip, and flavorfully, that's not going to be very flavorful. So I put raw ginger directly, and so I mix it all together with the raw cannabis, the amount that I break up, like 2 joints worth. And I usually put it in this like little bowl. I'm looking to see if I can find one. It's like a little bowl. It's like a little net pot that opens, and I pack one side of it. I put the raw ginger in there. I put the loose leaf tea blend. I put the weed in there. I close that shit up. Now, as soon as the teapot screams, I take it off. I let it sit for like 30 seconds, not even 20 seconds. Let it bring down the temperature just a bit. I want to get below 250 degrees, or right at, excuse me. I don't know what's going on with me. I'm like getting hit by it's got to be I'm drinking soda. I really only drink soda when I do this and when I coach soccer. That's it. That's when I drink soda. And and then I've stopped. I'm doing tea, but I need the caffeine. But it's destroying. I can feel it right here in my chest. Terrible. Hate soda. Anyways, because you know what I do with soda? Oh my God. I put it on my battery of the car, and it eats away all the crusty metal and stuff. That's what I'm drinking. I know. That's why I'm having digestive issues. So I make a tea. So as soon as it stops screaming, I have all of that. Now, I also put raw honey into the cup. Raw honey is great, especially if you get a local honey. That way you're gonna be helping, if you have any allergies, anything like that. Raw honey is amazing with the pollen, anything with the pollen or the honeycomb, natural in your area. That way you can work on your immunities where you live. So anyways, I make a tea. I pour the tea in and I let it steep. I let it steep in there for like, I don't know, until it's ready to drink. And I'll even leave it in there and keep drinking it. By the time I'm done with the tea, my whole body feels incredibly light. And what I'm getting is I'm getting that CBG. I'm getting that in my body. I'm doing a live decarboxylation. So that's medical. That's not recreational at all. But recreationally, how I benefit, I also, I believe heavily that cannabis is so packed with vitamins and aminos and protein. I eat raw seeds. I still do vitamins and minerals are very important, but I'm also eating the raw seed. I'm eating the raw cannabis. In the raw cannabis, magnesium, manganese, omega-3, omega-6, the highest protein and fiber of any plant or animal by weight and by amount. It's a superfood. Cannabis is a superfood. I would have never known this in its early years. Just smoking weed, I would have been like, this shit can feed a village. But it could, and it does. Depending on where you are in the world, cannabis is implemented as a food source. Just as prevalent as, say, maybe kale or spinach or chard. I mean, this is wow. It's just a wow wow. Okay. um. So let me get back to some of my other things I was talking about. Let me just make sure I'm on the right page. You know, sometimes it's dun, 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 dun. No, it's not there. One moment. Because I also wanted to talk about some other things. Hypermesis syndrome, and that was something that I wanted to talk about. You know, didn't want to forget it, so I wanted to get it back up on the agenda. And actually, I forgot what the hell I was talking about. Cannabis. So we're going to talk about some of the other things. Let's jump from there. Since I forgot what the hell I was talking about, and I'll probably remember it later. I'm just sweating out like a sweat. This is like a sweat lodge. That's where I am right now. I'm in a sweat. This is like so hot. This is not like regular hot. Like my phone's overheating, my computer's overheating, I'm overheating. Welcome to Florida. Be happy if you are anywhere where the temperature is not hell. And I'm in North Florida, and it is still like 90 degrees, and the sun isn't even out yet. No, it's out. It's out. Summertime is rough here in Florida. The mosquitoes, the gnats, the fleas, you name it, they are everywhere. Sand fleas. I live where there's a lot of sand, and I have to treat the area constantly because we are getting attacked. This is an invasion of the grandest scale that we must fight off. And I don't believe in using chemicals. I don't believe in using things that are going to hurt the ground, hurt the plants, hurt the natural wildlife. And 60 is your high? You enjoy that. You enjoy the shit out of that, because I think our high is like 94 today. A new record. Enjoy all the 60s that you get, and don't complain, being like, I wish it was warmer. And then when it's warmer, you're like, it would have been nice cooler. So in just a moment, we're going to talk about CHS, cannabis hypermesis syndrome. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is I thought it was happening to me. I smoke a lot of weed. Shit like that can't happen to me. I mean, I would have to quit weed completely. Cannabis, weed, whatever you really want to call it. I really prefer cannabis these times, but that's really long. Like, I have to quit my cannabis. I got to quit cannabis. It's just really long. So I got to quit my smoke. Let's call that. But then I don't just smoke it. So that really doesn't individual, whatever. So cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. It's how it manifests. So we need to discuss what it is and how it manifests, including symptoms like cyclic vomiting, abdominal pain, nausea. So things like this could be other factors. You could be dehydrated and getting high. Like you're high and you're dehydrated. That can make you vomit. That can give you intense, massive nausea, and abdominal pain. Being dehydrated has been a huge cause for people thinking they have hypermesis syndrome or cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, because there are other hypermesis syndromes besides that of the cannabinoid kind. 1 second, it's a smoke break. Hey, I've made it more difficult because I got a fan blowing right on me. So I've got to have the lighter so much closer, and I really don't like using the lighter or using it so close because of the butane contamination. So it's what I'm inhaling into my lungs. Ooh, that was a that was a very flavorful hit. Okay. It's like I could taste the purple in it. That's what it tastes like to me. I can taste purple. That's a weird thing to taste when smoking weed. What do you taste? I taste purple. You don't taste anything else? Well, no, I taste berries. Like strawberry, like the back end of it, like the full flavor of a strawberry. Like once you're done with it, you can taste it in the back of your mouth, but not the tartness of that. Orange, like an orange peel. Anyways, so we're talking about hypermesis syndrome, and really being dehydrated is a huge cause of the vomiting, the abdominal pain. I mean, I will work like crazy out here in the land. I will dig ponds. I will weed. I will do gardens. I will tend to ducks and chickens, and I won't drink enough because I'm here at the land. I don't think about it, but it's hot. This is Florida hot. But so I'm sweating constantly, and I'm not drinking. And the first thing I'll do, I'll go inside the house, and I will, I'll relax for a moment. I will spark up a bowl. Maybe I'll pop an edible or two because it's been a hard day, and I'm going to go back out there and finish off some projects. So I'll smoke, and I'll go back out there, be like, oh, I need a drink or something. I'm dehydrated. Now I'm feeling a little nauseous. I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling well. Maybe some abdominal pain. I'm maybe not vomiting, but I feel like I could, and I really need to drink something. But at the same time, I just smoked. So I was thinking to myself, was that because of the weed? Like I smoked cannabis just now, so I'm using both, and maybe I'm not feeling good because of that. That's weird. So we don't put one and one together sometimes at the right times. And I mean, we have to look at the causes and the triggers. Explore for yourself also the factors that contribute to hypermesis syndrome, including excessive cannabis consumption. Now, excessive meaning, now, wait a second, this is the big deal. And it's a good time for me to transition over to my other pipe. If you're doing dabs, if you're doing high heat dabs from a big glass rig or a small glass rig or any kind of rig at that, we won't discriminate because of the size of your rig. With high heat torches, which again, that the butane contamination isn't really there because it's going through water filtration usually, or it's quite a path. But if you're doing a lot of dabs, that's excessive cannabis use. Like morning, afternoon, night, or maybe in the morning before you leave for work. When you get home from work, you're doing dabs. In the morning, you're doing dabs and coffee, which I'm not against them at all. I'm against nonstop consumption without doing other ways. Again, we're going to talk tolerance break, which is not something I do for very long. People are like, Warren, how long do you not smoke weed for? I mean, I can't imagine you're not getting high or being happy or being in the mood that you're in or the kind of person that you are. And you're right. I could not imagine it either. I've gone a week. I've gone 2 weeks. I went 8 months once. I went longer. We talked about it last week. That was a really hard time for me. I didn't need weed. I was fine. But you've got to be able to look at excessive consumption, individual sensitivity to certain cannabinoids. That's big. So maybe certain sativas you can't smoke, certain indicas you can't smoke, certain combinations, certain hybrids don't work for you. And that can cause and be a trigger to cannabis hypermesis syndrome for you, or at least giving you things that thinking, like, potential psychological and physiological triggers. Differentiating. So how it differs from other gastrointestinal disorders and the challenges that people have in diagnosing the syndrome due to its overlap with other conditions. Hypermesis syndrome. It overlaps with other conditions. It is an overall condition. Does that mean you can't smoke weed again if you officially have this? You probably should take an enormous tolerance break. And this is a good time to talk about tolerance break because we talk about the prevention and the awareness of hypermesis syndrome. And this is big in a recreational market. The recreational market needs to learn about the education of cannabis, about the education of using cannabinoids properly with your body, using proper terpenes. Maybe certain things don't work for you. Maybe certain things do. In that education of cannabis, we do things differently. We smoke differently. And so we may not do, because the reason maybe we're doing all of these dabs and having to do it this way. So I'm going to do it this way. I put a little bit of the crumble in this unit, no propane torch, no big rig, no extra things at all, just the crumble. And this is the Holy Grail crumble. Smoked it a little while ago. Absolutely, absolutely delicious. I really enjoyed that. It was smooth. That's what I found more delicious. It was smooth. Okay, it just buzzed. So now I'm going to take a light little hit. You don't have to hold it in very long, by the way. Your body is processing it almost immediately. The longer you hold in does not mean you're going to be higher longer. Maybe like 1-2% higher for just a second. But when I do it this way, when you're doing a dab, you're doing high heat, and you're like, just can't do it. What's going on? And then you're going to exhale, and then you'll get high, or you'll be really high, and you think you popped a blood vessel, and then you'll be high again later. So when I look at oh my God, when I look at doing it like this, I may not get high, I get high. It is more of a gradual lift, and it keeps me on that level for much longer. It keeps me on that level instead of just being high. I am high. And when you're high, you come down pretty quickly. Like within like 30 minutes, you're more or less normalized again. But when I'm smoking from this and I'm doing a regimen, I'm doing it, a little bit, and enjoying that small amount, I will get 3 or 4 sessions off that small amount that you saw me put in earlier. I'm already feeling quite lifted after that hit. And you get a lot of flavor, you taste it. Oh, that's hot, my finger. Oh, that was hot. Don't touch the top. That is flipping delicious. I like that. Look how smooth that was. I'm not coughing. That's absorbing into my body beautifully. I'm not doing this gigantic hit where I'm blowing my eye sockets out, but I'm enjoying the dab or the concentrate. I'm enjoying it, and I'm feeling that subtle lift to a really nice place. Just went out. Just turned off. But I think I can still get some smoke out. Okay, so that's the thing. I use different things for different reasons. Very nice, very delicious. Oh, see, I'm getting that. It's kind of lifting right to my body, up into my head. I feel that. That's a sativa. And this one specifically is sitting in the back of my head. I really want it to move. That was Holy Grail, but very nice. Also, very lemony. It's like a lemon. It's funny. Maybe that's. So I just smoked Holy Grail, and now I'm tasting the Point Break that I smoked a second ago, and that Point Break was almost like a lemon peel. Yes, you can do concentrates in pipes. I think you just have to change the. Oh, you mean like if it's a pipe like this? Yes and no. I mean, I've put some bud, and then I'll take some concentrate, and I'll take a little bit and I'll drop it like on the top of the bowl. So when I hit it, it'll melt into the weed, and I'll hit it like that. But it's kind of a waste because you're really not burning it properly, evenly. It's kind of getting into the cannabis. It's gonna kind of change the flow of things. But it's not terrible if you have nothing else. I like the electronic pipe for concentrates only because no butane contamination, no taste contamination, easy to clean. This thing is insane. Love it. Because with I have a glass rig, and that is so difficult to clean. Such a pain in the ass. Concentrates you can do in a pipe. I use them I've rolled sweets, joints, blunts, all of those things I've done, and in that, yes, I put crumble. So what I'm smoking today in the pipey pipes is a crumble. My favorite because of the way it's extracted, because of the honeycomb look, and because of the high terpenes that are in it and not added as a sugar additive like diamonds in sauce or something. It's diamonds and then sauce added. So it's the whole package together. It's juicy, it's lovely, it's tasty as a crumble. So in a regular pipe though, yeah, in a joint you could put it. I've rolled crumble, I've put RSO, or not RSO. You don't smoke an RSO. Don't smoke an RSO. Don't do it. But I've taken concentrates, concentrated cannabinoids in different forms, And I put them right down a beautiful sweet or blunt, whatever you want to call it. I've rolled it into a Canagar where the center was diamonds and sauce. Oh my, oh my. Just and it smoked slow. And there was like I think like 6 different blends. Recently while I was in Colorado in Denver at Starbucks, they had this joint. Not a joint, not even a joint. It's not a Canagar. It's I don't have the name of it here. I have it in another video. It's a Asian inspired name, and it has like 12 different blends or something of that nature. It's got concentrates rolled within it, and you smoke it. I think it costs like upwards of $300, but it's a 2 to 3 hour smoke. Would I pay that much money to have a 2 to 3 hour smoke? No, I'll buy that much weed and I'll smoke for like a week. But as a novelty, I mean, now if it's that flavorful, that tasty, that amazing, I imagine I'd have to keep lighting it. So I'd light it, I'd smoke until I feel my fill, and I'd put it down. I'd let it go out, or I'd put it out. I wouldn't let the shit go out. I wouldn't waste anything. I'd put up my tongue, I would put it out. Okay. But now, yeah, well, no, look, the electric pipe changes everything. The electric pipe brings in not just flavor, because look, when I'm smoked, look, I love flower, and I'll roll a joint, and I feel like I'll taste it more in a joint sometimes than I will a pipe. In a pipe, I will hit the flower, and maybe once, twice, 3 times a charm, I'll get some decent flavor out of it. But then after that, it starts to taste like a burnt, older weed that I found under my couch. So, and the older I get, I'm become more about flavor. I want to taste the product, and I feel that enhances my high, changes my high. I'm slipping off of this seat because of how much I'm sweating. It's wow. This is definitely a sauna. Oh my God. So, but with the flower, 1 or 2, 3 hits out of the pipe, I feel like I'm getting a decent. Now, I've seen people do it with a wick, and if you're using a wick and you're lighting it as you go, it takes a little bit longer. You're going to get a little more flavor. Yes, but it's a pain in the ass. It takes too long. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. And electric pipes matter, by the way. That was a lovely hit too. By the way, when it comes to smoking cannabis, like smoke, like what I just did, you don't have to hold it in. You don't have to hold it in. The longer you hold it in does not mean you're just going to make yourself cough. Instead of coughing, inhale, your lungs are absorbing almost immediately. Your lungs are taking in all the cannabinoids that they require immediately. And then just exhale. You'll notice if you do it that way, you will get just as high. Instead of holding it in longer, you're just getting it to your brain, and you're popping your blood vessels a little bit. It's that blood-brain barrier and that transference and that temporal, I'm holding my breath, I'm high. So no, exhale and feel the high differently. Feel it wash over your body instead of it, what's that? Wow, that hit me. But instead, let it, that hit me. Yeah. It's not that you're smoking the wrong stuff. Maybe you're smoking it the wrong way. And I'm not even saying you're smoking it the wrong way. Here's a new way to smoke, a different way to smoke, a more holistic approach, a medical approach to your recreational cannabis. Maybe that's what we're doing. So anyway, so I when it comes to the flower, so when you're talking about an electric pipe, I look at, all right, so this is where I was going to talk about. I used to have this globe, like it was this big glass globe, and there was this like brass pole that would be holding this little bowl in there. And I'd have to put my weed on the bowl, and I'd have to wait for it to heat up, which was wrong. I actually should have heated it up first and then put my weed in the bowl. But I was a kid, I was stupid, and I didn't know shit from shit. And instead I put it on the bowl, and then I put the bowl over that little brass thingamabobby. And it was like this hand, this skull hand that was holding it. It was like the coolest thing. And as a kid, for me to purchase this, I say a kid, early 20s, late 18s, late 13, whatever. I started pretty young with cannabis. And so I sat there, put the weed in, and I'm waiting for it to heat up. I waited forever. And all of a sudden, the little smoke started going, and I could smell it. I'm like, that smells like shit. But they say this is the best way to smoke it. I didn't know. Nobody was with me. I didn't want to embarrass myself. So it had a little hookah thing to it. So I took it. I'm like, and I am inhaling pure stale smoke. Oh my God. I inhaled a globe full of the yellowest, stalest, most vile smoke anybody has ever had off of. Wait, it gets worse. The weed I was smoking was brickweed. Now, if it depends on where you are in the world, and your weed comes from different sources. Early back in my days, we're going to go back. Let's go back. I mean, I remember I'm 50 this year. I've been smoking since I've been like 13. That's a long time. So back then, do the math. Back then, I'd get my weed. If I bought in bulk, I would get it in like this brick. Like a pound would be this big. Like a pound would be this big. And I'd have to peel layers off of it. And as I would, the seeds would come flying at me. And I'd be like the Matrix. Seeds. So and we were smoking hemp, really. We were smoking a clone of a clone of a clone, which probably didn't have an incredible amount of THC. It's what we smoked. And that's why now they're saying, well, the weed now is so much more powerful and potent. Well, it's been cultivated. It's been boutiqued. It's been fine-tuned. But the shit we used to smoke was pretty crazy. And so that terrible weed, which also, I want to let you know, we used to have this strain called Yokohama. Why? Because it smelled and tasted like Yokohama tires. That's probably how they shipped it in. It probably wasn't Yokohama tires, but that's the name we gave it. We used to make shit up name-wise. Now the strains are sub-named from the landrace strains, hopefully. Some are just given names, some are combinations of this and that through different phenotypes. But weed has changed dramatically. Wow. So anyways, that bowl I was talking about, it was terrible weed. And I smoked it and I coughed and coughed and coughed. And I coughed the whole house down. I think I almost hurt myself. I really did. It was disgusting. And I didn't want to smoke from an electric pipe like that. It was the wrong way. And not only did I do it the wrong way, I should have broken it up and, instead of putting it in giant bud, I should have heated up the device first. But then we didn't have a lot of people to teach us. We didn't have the internet that shows you anything and everything. We didn't have it. We had the library. It's not like I'm going to go to the library and be like, look, I need to take a book out on how to smoke my weed properly. No, I have to leave now. Okay, I'm leaving. And that would happen. So you'd call somebody, you'd ask somebody, you'd invite somebody over and you try to figure the thing out together. So that's how weed has changed. It's changed because we just know the quality, the precision of it has changed. And it's beautiful. It really is. I do want to quickly mention, as we are evolving in this cannabis landscape, as we are changing and becoming, don't forget you. Don't forget your health. Don't forget the enthusiasm towards life, towards a day. My enthusiasm towards cannabis is to help, is so others can benefit from what I've benefited from, both recreationally and especially medicinally. I'm a different person today. I go back. Let's start 14, 13, 14. I really fell into a heavy depression, but I didn't know what it was called. And even before that, actually, my parents were taking me and having me put on experimental medications that they are using now on children that are terrible, that they've stopped using on some kids because they found out how bad they are. I was part of those test cases. For example, I used to get terrible migraines. Oh, when I say terrible, my eyes would be on fire. I would fall to the ground. I couldn't move. And I experienced these migraines heavily into my mid 30s. I would get them once, twice a week sometimes. And I was on a drug called Imitrix. Imitrix, back then, I'm sure they have a nasal spray now, but they didn't. When I started, they had this injectable shot. And my dad would be the one that would give me the injectable shot. And it had to go into the meat right there of your leg, the thigh, right here. And so, okay, you're thinking, sure, great. My dad would come over. He'd walk really slowly, looking at me with this shot. Son, I know your head hurts, but I'm going to bloody enjoy this so much. Really, really, I've got a migraine right now, and you're going to tell me how much you enjoy going to give me a giant shot needle like this, I swear. And he had this little smile on his face. Really is. Quick connection thingamabobby, don't know. A giant eagle just flew over. That could have been like a chupacabra, not chupacabra, the not Mothman. I don't think we're close to Mothman. Whatever. But my father, anyways, would come over to me with this shot, and and uh, um, and he would inch it, and then he goes, son, listen, really, it hurts me more than it hurts you. I'm like, just do it already. He goes, just do it already. I'm like, just do it. He goes, okay, pop. And he had to make sure it got deep enough into the muscle because then he had to inject it. This hurts. Then the migraine wouldn't hurt as bad. You know why? Because now there's this a lump in my leg of medication and air, probably. Holy shit. Okay, sorry. I had to relive those memories of PTSD of my father giving me a shot of Imitrix. Now I use sativas, but I would have never thought to use these things. So early on, being the test subject like that, I've used cannabis medicinally to heal me of all the things that they had me on early on. Like they were trying to deal with my attention deficit disorder. They were trying to deal with my over hyperactivity, but mass depression. So when I was talking about depression, I was dealing with heavy depression from the age of like 13, 14 on into my 20s. Like maybe mid 20s, I had an awakening. And I was so lucky I did. So many people don't. And in that, I was able to pull myself out of the pool of depression that I was in. That I attribute heavily to cannabis. And the final steps to psilocybin. So cannabis is the buffer. It pulled me out easily from depression by knowing how to smoke the right things, by smoking things that changed my mood. When I told you I wasn't always like this, I was lazy, I was lethargic, I was depressed, I was down. I was at least 150 pounds heavier. Cannabis in its combination. Look, I'm not saying smoke a joint, you lose weight. Smoke a sativa, you get a little more energy. Don't eat fast food anymore. Stop with the saturated sugars and fats. Quit the soda. I say that, I'm taking a sip. Reduce the soda. Do small changes. They will make big changes in your life. It was all of that. And whole plant medicine, cannabis. Eating it raw. That was huge for my stomach. It was huge for the way I process food. Look, I used to look at food, I would gain weight. I'm not kidding. I would smell it. It was like, oh, I'm going to pay for that tomorrow. But you only smell it. I can't live even vicariously through you. I cannot. But that's it. That's what we're doing here. We're hanging out. We're talking about cannabis and about what we're using and how we're using it and how it's helping. So through the combination of cannabis and psychedelics, the whole world changed. And I saw that it wasn't about me. And that's why my mission of cannabis also changed. Because before, my mission of cannabis was selfish. It was just about me getting high. It was just about me going to events or doing things or just getting high and getting really high and being stupid. And that was early Oren. Now, realizing I, I don't really matter. It's not me. It's the all of us. We all matter together. I mean, individually, I matter, sure. But when I stopped looking at just the me and started looking at and that's where I think psilocybin helped. Um, that helped to see the world differently. We need to see each other and the world just slightly differently. And again, it's not something I do all the time. Um, Once in a blue moon to help reset the brain and reset the soul. Cannabis, on the other hand, that's something I do all the time. I love it. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I smoke a lot of bud, but but I have slowed down. And so, how do I think cannabis has helped me? By the way, with my testosterone, because I think I'm very manly in a way where I try not to be overly, like, I try to be both. I have a feminine and a male side. I try to be able to appeal to both things, and because I love, I love the birds, the bees, the gardening. I love cooking. And that's not a feminine thing. That's a male thing. That's when we get in touch with who we are and what we do. The perceptions of female male are so wrong. We are both the same. We are physiologically very close. I mean, there's some differences, obviously. There need to be. If there aren't, but the individual, physiologically, we are different from another. We are all individual. We come together as the one. And that's what I saw, and that's how I see the world. And that's why I want education for cannabis. If I can help there, if I can help one, I can help 1,000, I can help 1,000,000. We can ease pain, even if just a little bit of just pain, physical or mental. That's huge, because life gives us pain. Life gives us strife and PTSD through our traffic and our bosses and our jobs and our wives and our lives. And I'm just saying, life gives us PTSD. Thank God for cannabis. Yes, thank God. I cannabis has kept me young. Cheers. It has kept me vibrant. It has kept me alive. But on a medical side, recreationally, sure, I get high, but it wears away. It wears down. It helps in certain situations. If I'm about to get on stage and talk to, you know, 3,000 people, 300 people, 100 people, I like to go smoke beforehand just to balance out the soul so that I can reach them as Orin, not as the layers that I have to get through really quickly to be able to talk to them. I want to get them now, as I am, as I'm real, as I'm authentic. The truth of cannabis is what needs to be spoken. And that's also why I smoke on the show. I smoke on the show to show people what it's going to do to me. What does it do to me? Sometimes I talk a little fast. I already talk fast. I'm sorry. I try to slow down. I really do. But seriously, what is it going to do? You've watched the shows. You've watched me get high. Nothing happens at all, other than maybe my mood is lifted. My soul, it feels clean to talk easily to whomever is listening. I speak from experience, from understanding. So, and for those of you who don't know me, just in case on the show, so here in the Florida market, I'm obviously on a break right now. I'm looking for new employment, but as an individual, I host events. I boost patient flow and education regionally here in Florida and outside of Florida. I talk about cannabis and cannabinoids. I do it online. I do it in person. But I used to work directly for the MSOs, the multi-state operators, the big cannabis operators. And I would travel to the doctors, not only dropping stuff off, but exciting them about our brands, our products, and what they actually can do, or the possibilities of them. And I put the name of the company that I'm working for in their heads. So when the nurses and the doctors talk to their patients, they tell them what I tell them, and they send them where I send them. That's what I do. I increase patient flow. I increase excitement. I do grand openings. I talk and live the education of cannabis. For me, it's to help you together while we sit on the on this Wednesday together on High and Empowered. This is it. That's what the podcast really is. It's a talk. It's a smoke. It's community. It's maybe remembering some of the things that we've forgotten and living as a community, because it takes a village. I really feel it does. I feel it's not the individual, but it takes that village to change, to make change. I always talk that it'd be great if I can get the UN together and everybody smoking or eating an edible or something of that nature, and to right there, we would solve world hunger. We would solve homelessness. We right there, that day. I just feel when they can see beyond themselves, when somebody's able to see as a community, as a family, because when I got into cannabis, it felt like family. So I use cannabis to quell my migraines now. I don't use Imitrix and that terrible stuff. By the way, it used to make a big giant bubble, and then my dad would massage the bubble, and it would send the medication through my body, and then I'd turn into a zombie for a period of time. It was terrible. That's not how shit's supposed to work. Cannabis works with the body, with your endocannabinoid system. Today, we've brought up some very interesting things. We talked about fertility and testosterone boosting. Cannabis. Look, every week, we're going to talk a little bit something about cannabis education. Sometimes we talk about Crohn's, IBS, Alzheimer's, dementia. By the way, that's THCV, sativas, life-changing. RSOs, life-changing for anybody that's dealing with cancers, and you want to be able to get large, high doses of THC with full plant medicine, full cannabinoids in your system immediately. We need to learn. And as a community, we can help each other, knowing that there are options besides just the pharmaceutical. With the rescheduling of cannabis, possible rescheduling of cannabis, as you see, I told you it may not happen. The head cheese, the head honcho, it's not even signing off on it. It still requires them to convince her, to convince Anne that this is something she needs to sign. Hasn't happened yet. But if it does happen, it gives validity, and it turns cannabis more into a